Yellowstone National Park is best known for its geysers, hot springs, and most of all, its bison. But lurking below the park's seemingly endless supply of steaming pools and spluttering geysers lies a secret so massive it has the potential to wipe out civilization as we know it. And thanks to some recent discoveries, scientists may finally be closing in on just how powerful this hidden threat really is. So let's take a closer look at what's happening below Yellowstone and why experts are concerned it could spell doom for us all. For those unfamiliar with the location, Yellowstone National Park spans parts of 3 states, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. But by far, the majority of the park is in Wyoming. It covers an area of 3,472 square miles, making it the second largest national park in the lower 48 states after Death Valley. Yellowstone is a major tourist attraction receiving more than 4 million visitors each year. It's home to around 10,000 species of plants and animals and is one of the most geologically active places on Earth. What makes Yellowstone so unique, though, is a series of supervolcanoes. These giant cauldrons of doom have the potential to blow their tops and destroy everything within hundreds of miles. There are actually 2 supervolcanoes beneath Yellowstone, but they aren't always active. For example, the Yellowstone caldera hasn't erupted in more than 500,000 years. However, the most recent eruption of the Snake River Plain came only 13,000 years ago. While that sounds like ancient history, it really isn't. In geologic time, it's practically yesterday. To put it another way, Neanderthals were making cave paintings when the last eruption occurred. It might seem like nothing could survive such a cataclysmic event, let alone thrive. But that's exactly what happened. After the dust settled, life slowly returned to the region. Animals moved back in and humans followed soon after. Since then, people have lived and died on top of the slumbering volcano without knowing it was there. This led to a false sense of security because if people didn't even know about the supervolcano until recently, how could they possibly predict when it would erupt again? Well, the answer is they can't. But they can study past eruptions to get an idea of what might happen next. That's why it was such a big deal when researchers discovered evidence of a massive eruption dating back to million years. By studying the debris left behind from that eruption, scientists were able to determine how much material was ejected into the air. They also learned how fast the eruption occurred, whether it was explosive or effusive, meaning did the lava flow or did it explode, and how high the ash cloud reached. What they found was both fascinating and terrifying. The supervolcano blew its top with a force equal to 2,800 cubic kilometers of material. It released an estimated 960 cubic kilometers of volcanic ash into the air, which reached an altitude of 45 kilometers. This particular eruption was 30 times larger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. And while that's a staggering amount of destruction, it's actually not the largest in Yellowstone's history. That dubious honor goes to the Huckleberry Ridge eruption, which took place around 2.1 million years ago. This was a hell of a lot of magma. By studying the layers of sediment built up in the bottom of lakes near the site, researchers were able to identify pumice deposits left behind from the blast. Pumice is a type of volcanic rock that's full of holes. It's created when gas bubbles get trapped in lava and then get released during an eruption. This helps scientists figure out how explosive an eruption was. More holes means it was more explosive. They also used computer modeling to help piece together what might have happened. Here's what they think occurred. Around 2.1 million years ago, a large magma chamber began to form beneath the surface. It slowly filled up over thousands of years until it was around 170 square kilometers wide. Then, in a matter of days, maybe even hours, the magma chamber erupted violently. It blew out 1,700 cubic kilometers of ash and rock, which covered an area of 130,000 square kilometers. For reference, that's about the size of England. The ash cloud reached a height of 46 kilometers. And as it spread outward, it rained down on much of North America. This is where things get really crazy. Recent studies suggest that the Huckleberry Ridge eruption had a magnitude of 8 on the volcanic explosivity index, also known as the VEI. This index is used to classify different types of volcanic eruptions based on the volume of material ejected and the eruption height. A level 8 means it was mega colossal. Only 8 eruptions have ever been recorded in human history that reached this level. The rest of the list consists of even higher numbers, but they aren't real because no eruption in recorded history has reached them. Eruptions of levels 7 and 8 are considered super colossal and catastrophic. Anything higher would be truly apocalyptic. And Huckleberry Ridge was a level 8. If that wasn't bad enough, the worst part is that scientists think it could happen again. Now, before you start packing your bags and heading for the hills, let's put things in perspective. The chances of it happening anytime soon are extremely low. Scientists believe that the magma chamber is currently dormant and will remain so for at least another 10,000 years. That's good news for anyone living in the area who doesn't want to get covered in ash. But it's still worth keeping an eye on just in case. Even though it's incredibly unlikely, there's no way of telling for sure. There are several other smaller volcanoes in the area that could erupt at any given moment. And while they won't cause the same level of destruction, they could still pose a serious threat to nearby towns and cities. For example, the Norris Geyser Basin is home to several hot springs and geysers, including the aptly named Steamboat Geyser. It's the world's tallest active geyser, and its eruptions can reach heights of 91 meters. That's almost as tall as the Eiffel Tower. Then there's the Black Sand Basin, which contains some of the hottest water on the planet. One of the pools in this area is called the Abyss, and it reaches temperatures of around 90 degrees Celsius. If something were to go wrong and the water started spraying everywhere, it could cause serious burns to anyone who got too close. That's why it's important for visitors to stay on marked paths and keep a safe distance from the geysers and pools. Even though they might look like a nice place to take a dip, the water is scalding hot and can easily kill you. But some people don't listen, and every year someone gets burned or even dies after falling into one of these pools. For example, in 2016, a man was burned after ignoring warning signs and walking too close to a hot spring. He was taking a shortcut across the boardwalk when he slipped and fell into the pool. Another incident occurred in 2000 when a woman named Colleen Mate fell into a geyser while trying to take a closer look at it. She was rushed to the hospital, but died from her injuries. To make matters worse, authorities often have to shut down parts of the park after these incidents because the water needs to cool down before it can be used again. This causes long lines and delays, which can ruin a visitor's experience. That's why it's so important for everyone to stay safe and follow the rules when visiting Yellowstone National Park. Because even though it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, it's also one of the most dangerous. One wrong move could end up costing you your life. So if you're planning on visiting, be sure to do your research and take all necessary precautions. That way you can enjoy all that Yellowstone has to offer without getting hurt. Because let's face it, nobody wants to end their vacation early because they fell into a hot spring. Now watch Supervolcano Discovery Shocks the World, or check out Biggest Threats to Humanity in the Next 100 Years.